harder than last time, Mom! You got 4 more reps in you. What's wrong with you? Stopping at 6 reps shy of failure. Coach Greg, and today I'm going to be reviewing a review of my training book by a guy called Geoffrey Schofield. I bought Greg Doucette's $199 training book, brutally honest, full review comparison. Let's watch and find out. What the heck was this? Let's watch and find out.
I thought I would compare his book to my book and see which came out on top. In order to make my money back, I will need to sell 40 of my own books because it's on Amazon, it's $8, I make $5 per copy. I will need to sell 40 books in order to break even.
Mine's 25 times more expensive, so it better be 25 times better, so to speak.
So you open the book and there is Greg Doucette in all his shining manly glory, shirtless and staring at the camera like, holy shit. That alone is obviously worth the purchase price. And it has introduction, mindset, cardio, diet, weight training, and then it has casual, moderate, and hardcore plans.
Several of each. Just to point it out there in case you don't watch the whole video, there are several workout programs.
And then it finally has some of these red pages. It's a red page. It has a bunch of quotes from him. Honestly, I think this is just filler. Usually it's quotations from his YouTube channel, like train harder than last time, or
train harder than last time. It's just filler to him. It's probably one of the most deeply entrenched quotes I've ever made that's made more difference in people's lives than anything I've ever said. Maybe more than put the fork down. Train harder than last time. 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 And if you turn the page and you read a quote and it says something like, your heart is more important than your biceps. The biceps look cooler than the heart. Only because you can't see the heart. Because it's underneath your pecs and your ribs. Start doing cardio and never stop. If you read that and you're like, oh yeah, maybe I'm actually going to freaking do cardio today because it's more important to her than my biceps. And you go to do cardio, it motivates you. The book is like, you get it and you read it, you flip the pages and you're motivated and it's important. And you're saying, oh, it's fluff material, it's filler. Yeah, it's fluffed filler that's going to get your ass to the gym and train harder than last time and not neglect your cardio. Some of those quotes are the most important parts of the book. Filler. What do you think I needed to set a certain quota? The book requires to be at least 120 pages long, so add filler pages. No, the book's as long as it's going to be. It's not 1,000 pages because who's going to read that? I'm not sitting there reading 1,000. If you think I got the time to freaking make a 1,000-page book, you're not going to read it. I'm not going to write it. So what's the point of it? Ooh, I got 25 pages about this thing that no one wants to read. So what? The book, you buy it, you go to the gym, and it's easy to understand, easy to do, and you're going to get the gains. You're buying the book because you want to train like me and get the gains.
You know, it's cool to see in the book, but also it's not particularly useful.
He read the book in my voice. It's impossible not to do that. I read a quote. That is the point.
Then he has a section on mindset and motivation, which I think is really important, and I didn't actually go into in my book, so
hence those little quotes that, the red that you thought I shouldn't have. Now, apparently, if it's in a paragraph form and called motivation, that's a point for Greg. But if it's in red in your face, bold words, that's not counting as motivation, and it's a fluff.
Basically goes into why you should do cardio, how to plan your cardio. He mostly seems to suggest doing incline walking on a treadmill, which is fine. That'll get the job done. He doesn't talk about high-intensity interval training.
I don't talk about high-intensity interval training because I don't want you to do high-intensity interval training, okay? Coach Greg is saying that's one of the worst forms of cardio you can do if you're trying to build muscle. Steady state cardio, moderate pace. That's what I keep telling people to do. Not so hard that you're going to die. You don't need to do that to build muscle or to burn fat. All this crazy high intense stuff. If you're an athlete athlete, yes. If you're trying to train for soccer championships, basketball, whatever, CrossFit games, yeah. The book is for 95% of people that just want to build muscle.
So my section on cardio goes into high intensity interval training as well as low intensity steady state training. It talks about sprinting on the track, on the roads. It talks about, running on the treadmill, hill sprints, prowler pushing, sled dragging, cardio machines, doing lifting, using lifting as your cardio, which is actually viable.
Yeah, so your book is for a different person, the kind that don't want to build muscle maximally. So if your goal is just to be an athlete and you don't want to maximize hypertrophy, well, you can get his book and use a bunch of cardio tricks that he has. But that's not the purpose of my book. Doesn't mean my book is wrong. It would be like me saying, hey, I made a cookbook to lose weight, and then someone does a critique of it and says, my book's better because my book is for bulking and his makes you lose weight, mine makes you gain weight.
But he says to do 12 to 15 reps for hypertrophy and 12 to 20 for warm-ups for hypertrophy, which I think is a little bit high, but obviously you can still gain muscle in that rep range.
And he criticizes me because he's like, well, for strength, maybe the reps should be lower than what I say, which is the 5 to 8. But listen, this is for the average person. The 95% of people are going to buy the book. If they're focused on building strength or muscle, it's there. If you're a high-level world champion powerlifter, you're probably going to hire a friggin' coach. You might hire Coach Greg. I've coached many of world champions and guys setting records, girls, whoever. I've coached all these people. I know what I'm doing. But the purpose or scope of this book is not to develop a scientific powerlifting program to compete for a competition. That's a future book. I can't do every single thing in one book. This book is for the average person that wants to build muscle, and maybe they still want to build muscle, but they want to focus a little bit more on strength. You do all these low rep sets, 1 to 3. Chances of getting hurt go up. If you're hurt, you can't be training. You can't be training, you're not making the gains. If you're hurt and you can't be training, you can't be gaining. You need to train to gain.
If you look at a lot of how the Russian weightlifters train, the Russian powerlifters as well, they do a lot of low reps. Not the whole year, not all the time, but enough where you can't just say 5 to 8 reps is going to be your heaviest sets. If you want to truly maximize your strength, you should be periodizing, you should be peaking, you should be tapering and building to a lower reps, finally to a 1 rep max in a competition.
It's for strength and for building muscle for normal people. I didn't write a Chico program. If you want his program, buy his book. It's Coach Greg's book, How Coach Greg Trains. You don't want to train like me. You don't have to. You can train like anyone else. Jeff Nippert, Jeff Cavalier, Schofield, whoever comes up with stuff. Mike Israel, train like them. Do periodization this way, deload that, IRR and do all that stuff. Or you can train like Coach Greg, go harder than last time, and you just buy the book and you do it, you make the gains, and it's simple.
Typically speaking, intensity is just percentage of 1 rep max. So 90% intensity is just 90% of your 1 rep max. So if your 1 rep max is 100 kilos, that is just 90 kilos. That is 90% intensity. Whereas intensiveness, or how hard you are pushing, that is a completely different thing. And he seems to sort of mix these up in this section. I don't know if this is just to make it simple.
It's to make it simple. You're being pedantic. Oh, how hard should you go? Well, I don't know if he means intensity or intensiveness, and I don't know what he means by that. It means how hard should you train? Harder than last time. How hard should you start when you start the book? Easy. Start easy, and then over time, go harder than last time. And I explain in more detail. I say how many reps from failure you should go if you first start. If you're a complete beginner versus, hey, if you've already been training for a long time, hey, you can keep this many reps in the tank, so to speak. So I did get into that, so you had a general idea of how hard you should train at the start and to slowly get going each week and how much harder you should go each time. I went over it in detail, so it is there, but I do explain it very easily about going harder than last time. Easy, moderate, harder, whatever.
So in my book, Sweat, I go into sets and reps. I go into volume, intensity, actual intensity. Some people do really well on intensity. Some people do really well on intensiveness, going close to failure. Some people do really well on volume. Other people just get trashed from too much volume. Some people recover more quickly, and thus they can use higher frequency. Other people, they might actually take 5, 6, 7 days to recover from a hard workout. So it really just depends. I go into how to train how to choose a training split, so full body, upper lower, push-pull legs.
So basically, it sounds like you buy his book and you read for about, 3 years and eventually understand what to do if you have a Bachelor of Science and can understand all this mumbo jumbo. Or you buy my training book and you go to the gym the next day and you know what you're doing. So he has 17 pages on advanced techniques going beyond failure. I just tell you what to do in detail, and I tell you to train harder than last time, and I explain if you need to do partial reps or force reps or whatever. Not trying to reinvent the wheel. I'm telling you what I actually do. I'm not going to give you 45 different training exercises for your biceps when I only do 2 or 3 myself. Not tricking you into, you got to twist and supinate here and twist out there and pronate and do it at this angle, at this specific, and that's how you gain biceps. And if your arms didn't grow, it's because you didn't do my special bicep exercises.
Whether you should do clusters, there's a bunch of stuff in here. Drop sets, supersets, manipulating reps, when to go to failure, partial reps, isometrics, and he doesn't talk about any of this. Paused reps, these are all really, really good ways to get better progress, especially on more isolation or machine type of movements. So much stuff here that he just doesn't go into at all. And I think it is a little bit, I wouldn't say lazy, maybe not covering something you should if you write a training book on weight training and you don't cover any of this stuff, which, hundreds and thousands and maybe even millions of people have used for decades to get top results.
Was my goal to copy everyone else's training programs that have been used by hundreds and thousands and millions of people? Or to tell you how Greg Doucette, Coach Greg, trains? And to give you my way? Not regurgitating what every other person says, which is what most people do. They just copy whoever's Mr. Famous and they say, let's train like that because they said that's the best way to train. I said how I think you should train based on what I think. You want my program, which is different than most people. You buy my program. You want to buy everyone else's programs, which a lot of them are the same old thing over and over again. Then be my guest, buy everyone's book. You want something different? Coach Greg's got a different book.
He also gives a progression for how close to go to failure, which I think is really good. Some of that is a little bit too conservative. The conservative progression, week 1, is keep 6 to 10 reps in the tank, which that's a lot of reps in the tank.
The conservative progression is for a complete beginner and you join the gym. So I said you get 6 to 10 reps from failure because you're just going in the gym. You've never done this program before. You're learning the exercise. You've never done a squat before or a bench press perhaps. And you got to keep 6 to 10 reps in the tank. It's a lot of reps in the tank, but you're a complete beginner. You haven't trained in 3 months. Okay? You've had time off. You've been injured. You never went out because of the cold. And now you join the gym again. Oh, no, that's not good. He doesn't like that because it's too conservative. But yet it's in the conservative program. What if you're 60 years old and you just joined the gym? You're going to tell your mom, go in the gym and train harder than last time, Mom! You got 4 more reps in you. What's wrong with you? Stopping at 6 reps shy of failure.
Then he has a short section, a very short section, literally 2 paragraphs saying, if it hurts, don't do it, on injury prevention. In my book, I have a whole 10 pages devoted to this because I think it's really, really important.
So we have one small section on injury avoidance on page 52, which makes sense. Then it talks about deloads. Then we get into stretching. Then we get into bonus tips for people who are beat up and are old. We talk about going at your own pace. So then we have a whole list of exercises that you can swap to if one exercise is hurting to switch to another. So you don't have to just label it how to avoid injury when the entire book is devoted to avoiding injury. I've selected those exercises and those rep ranges to avoid injury. 5 to 8 reps it's not low enough, to get your strength. But you should do 1 to 3 reps. As soon as you do 1 to 3 reps, your chance of getting injured are higher. So when I say do 5 to 8 reps and I say to use control and to go slow on the eccentric, faster on the concentric, and to pause and describe how to avoid the injury, I'm actually explaining how to avoid injury.
People are paying $200 frickin' for this book, and the injury prevention section is literally 2 paragraphs. Come on.
You think it's just 2 paragraphs, or is it 100 plus pages of scientific information on how to avoid injury? Warm up cardio and stretching, all that doesn't avoid, that's not going to avoid injury. Oh, properly exercise, selecting exercises that don't hurt you, it's not going to avoid it. Oh, but you sit there and do cleans and snatches and do HIIT cardio. I'm like, do moderate cardio at a moderate pace. My whole book is going to help you avoid injury. Everything from the rest times to how you perform the set, to how you select, to the fact that you have a slow progression from 1 week to the next, that you start in the 6 reps from failure zone, all to avoid injury. But you have 15 pages of it or 10 pages that no one's going to read because they don't want to read 15 pages on how to avoid injury.
So here I give some typical culprits about what the injury might be. So for example, if your shoulder hurts, it could be upright rows, it could be cloak-off press, could be wide grip bench press, could be low bar back squat, could be dips, could be anything behind the neck, could be Olympic weightlifting if you're going too heavy and you are.
He's probably a doctor, perhaps, and so he can just write it out and say, if you're hurting in your wrist or your shoulder or your back, it's probably from one of these 17 different exercises, and so, yeah, do these instead.
There is not a single
cook it down
picture in his book. Not one. There's a front cover picture of him shirtless. There's a back cover picture of him shirtless. The middle, the meat of the book, if you will, has nothing. Not a single picture, not a single chart, zero. A zero, nothing, no pictures. Which for a book on working out is absolutely ridiculous. Greg Doucette, I'm calling you out. You wrote a book on training without a single picture. Come on, bro. Come on.
The people buying my book are well above the age of 6 and don't require a bunch of fluff pictures. You call my quotes fluff and I'm calling your pictures fluff.
My book is $8, but it has 100 pages full of pictures.
So he's got a book about this thick that you're never going to get through. And if you really want to see that picture, it's called Google. So in case you bought the book and you don't know what to do and you don't remember what a squat rack is, Google squat rack, images, enter, picture.
And this is honestly lazy. This is lazy.
You want to call me lazy? You really think you work more than me? Does anyone watching this video think there's even a 0.01% chance that this guy outworks me? He wrote an $8 book, of which he's struggling to sell.
That is crazy to me. You know, that is crazy. I spent months writing my book, and it's literally 25 times as cheap.
Also spent months writing the book, also spent years studying in university, also coached for decades and experimented and tried things out, also was a school teacher and know how to present information so that everybody can understand it. It's not just how many months did you spend on it, it's does it actually work? Let's say it was written in a day and it worked, and you spent 10 years writing it. Does that make yours better? And just because yours is cheaper, is that my fault that you can't sell?
You can't do a 2-day photo shoot and just take pictures of the movements?
So yeah, I suppose I could have done a 2-day photo shoot and showed off with my shirt off and flexed and done the exercises, and it would be there, and I'd have another 100 pages of fluff, and then he would have done the video and said, yeah, 100 pages of this is fluff of him with his shirt off, flexing, showing you the exercise. I mean, no matter how you do it, people are going to critique you. You say one thing, they critique you. The other thing, they critique you.
One thing I think he probably should have gone into a little bit more is how to progress.
So literally, how to progress on page 48, we have conservative progression for hard and all-out sets, moderate progression for hard and all-out sets. And we literally have week 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1+ month, 2+ month. And it's like 1 to 2 reps in the tank, 1+ month, 2 months out, go all out for real. It's in detail describing how to progress, but it doesn't say how to progress. Thanks for the review.
And finally, I have an FAQ, strength standards, and an appendix. All of those total up to 30 pages.
You have 30 pages of FAQs. Maybe you should have written the book better so you wouldn't have those FAQs.
There's nothing wrong with the book. However, $200 is a lot of money to a lot of people. I dropped the money for 2 reasons.
And he goes, for an ebook, for fuck's sakes, not even a real book. So do you think that I like him saying that? Like, does that come across as being a nice guy? I'm just being brutally honest. You know, $200 is a lot of money for a lot of people. I totally respect that. I get that. Some people, that's more than they make in a week, month. I don't know, maybe it's more money than they make in a year. And yeah, I appreciate that a lot of people can't afford the book. I do get that. But to say, for an ebook, for fuck's sakes, it's not even a real book. Ending the video here. Be sure to buy my training book, GregDoucette.com for coaching, GregDoucette.com to buy my freaking cookbook and training book. Blue put up 2 videos. Watch top. You can watch bottom after. And until next time, I am out.